So maybe first we can talk about the price of Gigantic. So is it free to play or is it a full price game?
Free to play.
Free to play, okay.
And coming out on Windows 10 and Xbox One.
Okay.
And we're in alpha right now. We're going to be in beta at the end of the month.
Okay, so you said it will be on PC and console. So is there cross-platform play coming up?
Yeah. Not during closed beta. First, we're still working some things out there. The game works well on both, but there are differences in precision and speed between controlling keyboard and mouse and controlling with a controller. So we're not sure about really being able to let everybody just play together all the time. So our current plans involve letting people kind of opt in to playing in a cross-platform environment, but I think we're still trying to figure that out.
Okay, so if you're considering this cross-platform thing, how is it with gamepad support for PC? Are you planning this, and what gamepads are supported?
Yeah, right now when we test, we're using basically Xbox One's controllers, so that's what we've been working on at the office. So I don't know about the whole range of compatibility there, but that's definitely something we want to support, and is how we started. Even before we had signed a deal to be able to bring the game to console, one of our gameplay engineers had just set it up to be able to use the gamepad because it was fun, and that's really what kind of got the ball rolling on the whole thing. We saw that the game really could be very fun and could translate well to using a controller, and so then we started to look at the possibility of doing it.
Okay, good. So if the game will be released for console, I assume the hardware requirements are not too high?
Right. Yeah, anytime you're making a competitive game and then anytime you're making a free-to-play game, having as many people as possible play it is what you want. So definitely trying to make sure it runs well on a whole range of systems while making sure it looks better and better so you've got nicer hardware.
Okay, and if we talk about competitive play, so are you considering providing a league and a esport environment like other providers do, or is this just a very far idea at the moment?
It's not something we're actively working on very heavily right now. There's a little bit of work and trying to, obviously a lot of planning in terms of what leagues would be like, what tournaments would be like. Also looking at balance adjustments over time. If you're making a game and thinking about it seriously from a competitive standpoint, that balance is going to evolve over time based on what players find, and then especially because we've got a limited number of heroes in the beginning, but we'll be adding more heroes to the game, more maps to the game, more guardians, more summoned creatures, and all these things are going to be balance challenges. So we fully expect to be updating balance over time, and we wanted to really talk about planning that in conjunction with leagues and seasons and tournaments and all those things. But right now, those are, in the future. Right now, we're working on the core game, making sure that it's ready to go.
Okay, so when we talk about heroes, how many are there in the game at the moment? And is there a number that you're aiming at? So, we want to have at least 32 heroes or something?
Yeah, so going into closed beta, there'll be 15 heroes. People who've been following the game know that we've had 16 for a while. We're taking one of them out to do a little bit of a reboot on him, and then we've got several more heroes in the works that in our internal builds we've been playing with. We don't have a set number. What we think of is most important just to look at what the player's experience is, make sure things are balanced, and make sure things are fun, and that's going to dictate how many heroes we come out with and how quickly we add them.
Okay, so for both teams in a match, all heroes are available, or is there something like a trade pick coming in?
When we start to look at competitive play modes, then we would look at drafts and bans and all that kind of stuff. Okay. During normal, just kind of jump in and play. Your heroes have to be unique on your team, but both teams you can have duplicates.
Okay. And if we talk about Guardians, how many are there at the moment, and how do they differ?
So we've got 2 right now, and they're the only 2 we're going to have for a while. Making sure that we get all of that exactly right is a big part of making sure the game plays well. And so until we're really happy with all that, we're not going to start a 3rd one. And then from there, they do take a long time for us to make, just in terms of the animation, the art. So it'll and then the balance on it. So it'll be a little while. We're definitely during closed beta. I wouldn't expect to see a third Guardian.
Okay. And how many maps are in the game, or will be later?
Yeah. So right now we've got 3 that are pretty advanced state, and then we'll see how quickly we can add them. We've gray boxed and play tested about a dozen different maps, most of which we've thrown out at this point, but a few of which are also sort of queued up to be the next ones that we work on. I'll say that the maps, even though the core game rules don't change, it's always about controlling the map by summoning creatures, always about powering up your Guardian and trying to kill the enemy Guardian. The way a map is laid out can have a huge impact on how it works strategically, and even on the moment-to-moment combat, because the game uses 3 dimensions so much, with vertical play, with jumping, with arcing projectiles, bouncing things off the walls, and things, that map layout makes a huge difference. So I really want to add a lot more maps, but yeah, right now we're at 3.
Okay. And I assume the game is always online? There's no local mode?
Right. We definitely want to give players the opportunity to practice a little bit, go through some especially new players, get used to all the mechanics and the unique things about Gigantic. But we're really focused 5-on-5 PvP, 5 human players and their Guardian going against another set of 5 human players and their Guardian.
Okay. And if I look for custom games, can I mix up in one match keyboard and an Xbox pad on one system?
I think we're still trying to figure that out. I do think we want to provide some option for players to do that, and for a lot of the characters, because Gigantic features characters that use different skill sets. There are characters that are meant to use sort of a shooter skill set, and their abilities are about playing like a shooter. You've got characters that are more tactical and positional, characters that use sort of RPG principles of skill interactions, characters that are more kind of action brawler. For a lot of those character types, keyboard and mouse and controller are pretty similar in terms of what you can accomplish, but there are some character types where it does make a meaningful difference, and we certainly want everybody to be able to go in and have fun. So what we've been saying from the start is we'll offer opt-in cross-platform play where people can be using different devices, and I'm saying cross-platform and sometimes cross-device like PC versus console, but you're right, it really comes down to controller versus keyboard and mouse more than it does PC versus console. So right now I'm expecting we'll have some separation between the two by default, but I'm going to keep an open mind and see how things go during beta.
Okay. So what are your plans for game modes? Only one, or are you considering other modes like a deathmatch counter?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, we're focused on making the best competitive experience we can, and there are a lot of pieces that go into that, from the controls, the tuning on aiming and projectile speeds and all these sorts of things, to the game mode, the way the Guardians fit into the map, the way that creatures affect things, and so I'm really not looking beyond core gameplay right now.
Okay. So for core gameplay in many mobile games, items are a huge part of the core game. Is there something like this in Gigantic now, or coming up in the future?
No. It's one of the things that definitely was not interested in bringing into Gigantic from MOBAs. It's a game that draws influence from a few different genres. We did want some of the, obviously, the benefits that you get out of items in terms of being able to adapt to your opponents and to the situation. We do that in Gigantic with talents and skill upgrades that you pick during the course of the match, and we've really tried to push what it means to upgrade a skill, where the upgrades can have a dramatic impact, even changing how a skill functions altogether. And between the interactions of the talents, the skill upgrades, different character abilities, we think we've got the strategic adaptation in there without needing the items and the gold and all that stuff.
Can I reskill my abilities if I misclicked or something?
No, you're committed right now. Once you do it, we might be able to do something. If you haven't respawned yet, but once you've gone out there, you got it.
Okay, I think then we're done for today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.